let us all do we can to build a better future. I told you she wasn't popular. I mean, let's face it. We're going to bring up Tulsi Gabbard again. She destroyed, and that's an understatement, destroyed Kamala Harris not once but twice during the Democratic primary debates. Kamala Harris didn't even make it to the first primary state. Her campaign went bankrupt, belly up. It started off with a huge bang. Let's be very clear on that. A very huge bang. But what happened was, unfortunately, for Kamala, it withered away. Her entire campaign just had nothing to stand on. And I think we need to remember just how weak and truly out of touch Kamala Harris is. I mean, the only reason why she was Joe Biden as the vice president is because, Amy Klobuchar had her own scandals, and Kamala was, at least for the time being, the Democrats' shining star. But just a short reminder, all of you that are watching this, about Kamala Harris. Most of her staff has abandoned her. And so now the Democratic Party is calling to question whether she is fit to serve. Kamala Harris lacks the force, charisma, and skill to win the presidential race, senior Democrats told the Washington Post. Now, because the Washington Post, Democracy Dies in Darkness, wants to, put everything behind a paywall, good thing we have our friends at RT. Kind of give us a little rundown, too. More than a dozen senior Democrats doubt U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris can win a presidential election. People are poised to pounce on anything, any gaffe, which Kamala has, anything she says. So she's probably not getting the benefit of the doubt. Former Cobb County Democratic Party Chair Jacqueline Bedecker told the Washington Post for its article published on Monday, nor is the vice president adept as a communicator, she added. Yes, exactly. Never forget her interview that she did with Charlemagne the God. It was her downplaying and or talking down to Charlemagne. Many of the Democrats who spoke to the Post, most on the condition of being anonymous, anonymity, insisted they personally liked the VP. I doubt that. Let's have democracy in the chat. You think any of the Democrats within the Democratic establishment like Kamala Harris? Type 1 if you think they're all friends, like how AOC says they're all friends and they all work together. Type 2 is like, no one can stand her. Let's be clear here. A lot of people who worked for Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, have abandoned ship. She doesn't have a good traction record. Her campaign went bankrupt before the first Democratic primary was taking place. This isn't just some random opinion. This is a fact. She ended her own campaign. She's never been consistent with any goddamn thing, but feared her underwhelming performance since joining President Joe Biden's administration would prevent her from closing the enthusiasm gap among voters should Biden opt not to run for re-election. You know what the Democrats are probably doing? They realize that she is not charismatic, that they put their money on the wrong horse, and that Biden is clearly going senile. So we might see ourselves an open Democratic primary in 2024. Beyond concerns that Harris lacks the force, charisma, skill to mount a winning presidential campaign, some Democrats worried that the diversity bona fides that had helped secure her position as Biden's running mate might harm her in a general election, framing Hillary Clinton's electoral failures as proof voters weren't ready for a female president, never mind a black female president. Well, here's the thing. I think voters respect strength. Voters respect someone who's going to be consistent and can relate to them. I mean, let's look back at 2016. You think people voted for Trump because their lives are great? It was the aftermath of the Obama administration, at least according to the Vote Blue No Matter Who and a lot of liberal Democrats. Those were wonderful 8 years, even though we lost habeas corpus. No one who caused the 2008 economic collapse were held accountable. The Bush-Cheney administration was never held accountable. We went from 2 wars to 7. Yeah. It's understandable why, again, even though he was a cuck, Bernie Sanders' campaign was resonating with people, but also Trump's campaign was resonating with people. You know who wasn't resonating with people or feeling the anger of the American people? And that was Hillary Clinton's corporate campaign. Look back at Hillary Clinton during those years. I know some of you might be mentally scarred just by watching some of those old videos of Hillary Clinton telling you to Pokemon Go to the polls. And no, I'm not exaggerating. She really said that. She really said that. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You know, I mean, goddamn, I really feel sorry for anyone that voted for her and thought, oh, it's her turn. She didn't care about us. And same thing with Kamala Harris. Not charismatic at all. And could have, again, in many ways, been different. But she's following the playbook of the Democratic establishment. While Biden has strongly hinted he will run again in 2024. Oh, God, that's elder abuse. He is already the oldest president ever to have served, and would be 86 at the conclusion of his second term, raising questions about his fitness, even among the faithful. Yeah, he's 86. He needs to be in a home. He needs to take a nap. He wants his milk. He's probably wearing adult diapers right now, folks. Yes, he's an old man. He's had his time in the sun. He's got to go. We're being ruled by somebody who's telling people to go listen to the record player. And this is an old man who... Never mind. You know what? Hey, vote blue no matter who. If this is your horse, God bless you. There you go. A little pat on the head. Prominent Democrats like New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin have declined to endorse him. Wow, hey, AOC, you agree with good old Joe Manchin. While a poll conducted last month suggested 58% of voters don't want him to run again. Exactly. Harris would face an uphill climb to gain popular support because her polling numbers are lower than Biden's, and that's not saying much. The former California senator failed to win a single state in the 2020 primaries, dropping out before voting began. Hold on. Oops, I'm sorry. Dropping out before voting began. Sometimes I stutter and speak another language. I just want to read that again for all those K-Hive members. Dropping out before voting began after poor debate performance and trouble retaining staff, sandbagging her campaign. Her approval rating hovers at a dismal 38.4%, just below Biden's own 42.4%. God, the fat Kamala. Give it up. It's over. Stop. Please stop. And you know what? Just so y'all know just how bad of a performance it really was, I want to time travel. I want to time travel to 2020. Well, not even 2020. It was 2019. Let's go back in time and see that debate. Let's go check it out.
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about.
Oh, one other thing here too. Not to interrupt, I'll rewind that a little bit, but just so y'all know, currently, and again, this was allowed for the prisoners who were firefighters. Before now, they can apply. Now they can apply to actually become firefighters now. But during Kamala's tenure, they couldn't. She didn't want that. She helped keep innocent men behind bars still. And remember, there wasn't even an innocent man on death row that Kamala's team wouldn't do anything about. And again, I'm going to say it again for the people in the background. That's called death row, not life row. Let's rewind that. And this is where you see Kamala get destroyed.
President, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put.
And that's Eleanor says, but Kamala was that little girl, and she wanted freedom.
Over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
And this is where you see it. Look right here. I'm going to pause right here. This is where Kamala's like, oh no, I've got nothing. I've got nothing.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to have prisoners for financial gain for the prison industrial complex in the state of California. Well done, Kamala. Oh, and you laughed about, sending parents to jail if their kids didn't go to school. You laughed about it. To use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about reentering former offenders and getting them counseling.
And shout out to Bad Cookies. She is right. She crafted the model of prison labor that is a standard for-profit prisons. There you go.
Bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Our Democratic Party, unfortunately, is not the party that is of, by, and for the people. It is a party that has been and continues to be influenced by the foreign policy establishment in Washington, represented by Hillary Clinton and others' foreign policy, by the military-industrial complex and other greedy corporate interests.
Senator Harris, any response?
Oh, sure. I think that it's unfortunate that we have someone on the stage who is attempting to be the Democratic nominee for president of the United States, who during the Obama administration spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama, who has spent full-time criticizing people on.
And this is the second time Kamala gets destroyed by Tulsi Gabbard. And by the way, what I find interesting is, hey, Kamala, even though you're VP, you only got in because of pity. And you got 0 delegates, and your campaign went belly up, and your polling numbers are lower than Joe Biden. Let's face it, you're not popular amongst Democratic voters or independents or voters in general.
On this stage as affiliated with the Democratic Party, when Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, buddied up to Steve Bannon to get a meeting with Donald Trump in the Trump Tower, fails to call a war criminal by what he is as a war criminal, and then spends full time during the course of this campaign, again, criticizing the Democratic Party. What we need on the stage in November is someone who has the ability to win. And by that, we need someone on that stage who has the ability to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump.
And not do anything to make sure anything fundamentally changes, because the Biden-Harris administration are still using some of Trump's domestic and foreign policies. By the way, folks, guess what? Not to surprise you, not to frighten you, not to make you hide underneath your blanket, but guess what? The kids are still in cages. Vote blue, no matter who. You guys going to do anything about that? I forget. What was the name of that celebrity who tweeted out, "Hang on, kids. We're going to get you out of those cages," as soon as Biden and Kamala won the presidency, right? You think those kids are still in cages? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. There's Kamala just saying to you, no, we're gonna change things. Return the soul back to America's country. Jesus, I mean, people left her campaign. Here's the thing: not only did people abandon her campaign, not only did her campaign go belly up, but as vice president, people began leaving her as well. I only can imagine what it's like working for Kamala Harris. Like, if I could speak to someone who worked for Kamala Harris, like, and it'd be completely anonymous, right? I just want to hear what it was like, because it's probably like torturous, like probably worse than Amy Klobuchar. In fact, hold on, let's have democracy in the chat. Type 3 if you think working for Kamala Harris was a nightmare, like people were pulling out their hair, crying in a corner. Type 4 if you think it was all rainbows and sunshines.
And someone who has the ability to rebuild the Obama coalition and bring the party and the nation together. I believe I am that candidate.
Thank you, Senator.
Yes.
Congresswoman Gabbard, I'll give you a chance to respond.
What Senator Harris is doing is unfortunately continuing to traffic in lies and smears and innuendos, because she cannot challenge the substance of the argument that I'm making, the leadership and the change that I'm seeking to bring in our foreign policy, which only makes me guess that she will, as president, continue the status quo, continue the Bush, Clinton, Trump foreign policy of regime change wars, which is deeply destructive.
I just want to let all of you know. That was the last time Kamala would be on the debate stage. That'd be the last time. The last time she would be on a debate stage. And now the whole party is wondering, does she really have a leg to stand on? Because I want to read this final paragraph here from this article from RT. I know, controversial statement. I know I'm reading an article from RT. It means I'm a bad guy. Even the White House recently had trouble naming any of Harris's accomplishments since taking office. You know what? I'm sorry. Let me say that again in English. Even the White House recently had trouble naming any of Harris's accomplishments since taking office. Asked last month about the progress the VP had made in solving the migrant crisis, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, who again tells all of you to go to the White House counselor, appeared to draw a blank. Yeah, can't think of a single thing, suggesting the reporter contact Harris's office directly. Didn't say go to the White House counselor? Oh, geez, she didn't say the line. Harris infamously did not visit the Mexican border for 3 months after she was tasked with addressing the situation, even as record numbers of illegal immigrants crossed into the U.S. And by the way, folks, the kids are still in cages. So how do we end this story about good old Kamala Harris? 2024 will be a very interesting year. It's quite clear the Democrats, or Democratic establishment, is trying to position their party in a way in which they can make sure that Joe Biden doesn't run again. They need to find a candidate that is acceptable to the vote blue no matter who crowd, but also they realize that Kamala is also a terrible candidate to bet on as well. Let's be very clear here. Trump's going to run again in 2024, and there is a lot of political ammunition that Donald Trump's campaign could use if he wins a Republican primary to use against the Biden-Harris administration if the Democrats are all on board of having Biden be their pick. It's a recipe for absolute failure. Hell, it could be thrown up 50-50 in the air. All I know is Democrats, good luck in convincing me or any of my audience to vote blue. People are tired of the lies of the Democratic Party. People are tired of the lies of the Republican Party. Nothing's going to fundamentally change if we keep voting for these hack fraud politicians. Break away from the two-party system, and never forget, Kamala Harris's campaign went broke and was defeated not once but twice during the Democratic primary debates. That's it. No debate about it. She's only a VP because out of pity.